Today the topic is subject-verb agreement and sentence correction. These two topics are very much essential both for those who are doing CSS or PMS or any competitive examinations. Subject-verb agreement and sentence correction. So first of all, the first topic, that is subject-verb agreement. To be very simple, subject-verb agreement means that singular subject for singular verb and plural subject for plural verb. Plural subject for plural verb. I will give you very simple example that he writes a letter and they write a letter. So here we have singular subject. For singular subject, I have used singular verb. Singular verb mean first form of verb and we will add it with s or es. Plural subject mean more than one person or things or any noun that is not single. We will use plural verb. Plural verb mean verb without s or es. We have certain rules for subject verb agreement. So we will study how in different cases the subject becomes singular and the subject become plural. The first rule that we will discuss is that when subject refers to, write it down, when subject refers to distance, period of time, and sum of money, treat such subjects as singular. Remember, the distance, period of time, and sum of money. If these are the subjects of the sentence, these will be treated as singular. For example, if I say that look here, that 1367 kilometers dash a huge distance. The second example can be that 10 years dash a long period of time. The third sentence can be sum of money. Do you think 1,000 rupees dash a huge sum? Now look at these sentences. All of these sentences, we have subject that looks like plural. Here we have 1367 kilometers, we have 10 years, and we have 1,000 rupees. But we will treat all these subjects as singular. We will say 1367 kilometers is a huge distance. We can say 10 years is a long period of time. And we will say, do you think 1,000 rupees is a huge sum? So remember the first rule, that if your subject deals with the distance, period of time, and sum of money, all these subjects should be treated as singular. Okay, if I write that over 100 civilians dash in the city. See this one, over 100 civilians dash in the city reside. So here this subject is plural because it isn't in distance, sum of money, or the period of time. So we will treat this subject as plural, not as singular. So here we will write that over 100 civilians reside in the city. Okay, the second rule, that is for subject-verb agreement, and that is indefinite pronouns. Indefinite. Most indefinite pronouns are treated as singular. For example, if I say somebody, someone, anyone, anything, something, nothing, these indefinite pronouns will be treated as singular. We can say each, every, etc. I say each man decides his own fate. Or I say, if you exclude this man, each decides his own fate. We will treat these indefinite pronouns as singular. There are some indefinite pronouns like several, both, and the next one is several, both, few, many, etc. These will be treated as plural. These subjects will be treated as, for example, I say several of the team dash attending the concert. So several of the team, we will call it here were. Both of the teams, few of the teams, and many of the teams. So we will treat these indefinite pronouns as plural. Now there are some other pronouns like and these are, by the way, adjectives. A lot of, lots of, all, and some. In this case, these adjectives can be treated as singular and these adjectives can be treated as the plural subject. It depends on whether the noun is countable or uncountable. If all of these adjectives are attached with the countable nouns, we will treat it as plural subject. If these adjectives are attached with the uncountable noun, we will treat these adjectives and the whole subject as singular noun. For example, I say, all of the dresses, all dash are my favorite. By the way, a lot of and lots of, they both have the same meaning. We use lots of in informal way and we use a lot of with formal way. Both have the same meaning and the same context. One is used as informal way and the other is used as formal way. Okay, all of the dresses, here we will say that we will use are. Why? Because we have countable noun with it. If I say all the oil dash wasted. Now this is an adjective and it is attached with uncountable noun, so we will treat it as singular subject. So all of the oil was wasted. If I say some people are residing in this city, some people are residing, so where we will treat it as the plural subject, because here people are countable or uncountable noun? Countable noun. So with countable noun, we will treat it the subject as plural. For example, I say some research dash done on this subject. We will use here was. We will use here because this research is uncountable noun. So this whole subject becomes singular and we will use here was. Remember once again that a lot of, lots of and some, these are the adjectives. If we use it with countable nouns, it will become plural. And if all these adjectives are used with uncountable noun, it becomes singular. So this is rule number second, that how we use indefinite pronouns and how we use some specific adjectives, whether they are treated as singular or as plural. Now, rule number 3 is, if you are making a request and if you are having some wish, we will treat the subject with a slight different way. For example, I say that if you are making request and if you are expressing wish, treat subject as plural. I say, I request everyone make their own choice. Now look at this sentence. I request everyone make their own choice. Normally, with everyone, we treat everyone as a singular subject. But here we are making the request. So if you are making the request, you can treat the subject as plural. I wrote here make. I didn't write here makes. And I didn't write here his. So I have treated the whole subject as plural, as it is in terms of, if you are expressing some wish, I say that I wish I were a bird. Normally we use was after I. Here I have used it as the verb. Why? Because I am making a wish. So remember that if you are requesting something or if you are making a wish, you have to treat your subject as plural, not in the normal way we use it as singular. Got it? Now, after that, we have another thing, and that is collective noun. You can use collective noun both as singular and both as plural ways. It depends on the context and meaning. The same collective noun can be used as singular, and the same collective noun can be used as plural. How? If the collective noun is taken as the whole unit, it will become singular. If you are talking about the members of that collective noun, it becomes plural. For example, if I say that the jury was going to the courtroom, the second question, the second sentence I write that the jury are arguing about the case. We have the same subject, but we have different context. The first one, the jury was going to the courtroom. Here we are treating the jury as the bench of people collectively. And in the second case, the jury are arguing about the case. I am talking about the members of the jury. Got it? So, if you are talking about the members, about the individuals, treat the subject as plural. If you are having the collective noun as a set, or make it as singular way. Got it? The same is the sense with the number and the family. A number and a family. These questions are frequent in exams, that we use and we treat the number, the family as singular, and a number and a family as plural. I say the number of chemistry student dash small. I say a number of chemistry students dash present. So here I say that the number of chemistry students is small. A number of chemistry students are present. Remember, if we use the number and the family, treat that subject as singular. If we use a number and a family, a number and a family means you are treating the individuals. The number and the family mean you are treating them as a whole. These becomes collective and these becomes individuals. So treat these one as plural and this one as okay. There are certain collective nouns that are always treated as plurals. That are poultry, cattle, police, gentry, vermin, etc. These collective nouns are always treated as plural. You will have to write with them are or were or have, not has, was or is. Poultry are, cattle are, police were coming, police are coming. बात समझ आ रही है कि ये जो कलेक्टिव नाउन है इनको हम हमेशा क्या ट्रीट करेंगे. So I have told you that in case of collective noun, you can treat the same collective noun. You can treat one collective noun as singular and treat the same as plural depending on the context. If you are talking about the whole group, treat it as a singular. If you are talking about individuals, treat them as plural. And we have certain collective nouns that are always treated as plural. So these are the rules that are related about the collective nouns. Now come to the next rule, and that is related with abbreviations. What is the difference between abbreviation and acronyms? Both are abbreviations. Both are. In abbreviations, you pronounce it by alphabets. For example, you say H and S. And when you pronounce an abbreviation with a full word, for example, I say NATO, it is called acronym. When you say the abbreviation as a full name, it is called acronym, and if you pronounce it through alphabets, it is called abbreviation. Okay. So generally we treat abbreviations as singular subjects, but there are certain cases we make abbreviations plural. How? If the full form of the abbreviation is singular, treat it as singular. If the full form of abbreviation is plural, treat it as plural. For example, I say that RPM falls rapidly. Now RPM is a subject and it is an abbreviation. Now look at this abbreviation. What is the full form of this abbreviation? It means revolution per minute. Revolution per, it is singular. So I have treated it as singular. I have used singular verb after it. Now see another, that I say in addition to oil, H and S dash in cargo. Now here we will use is or, because if you pronounce it, the full form of it becomes plural. What is the full form of HNS? Hazardous, noxious substances. Remember the end word, substances. As it is plural, you will treat it as the plural. So, in case of abbreviation, you have to see it the full form. If it comes as the singular, your subject becomes singular. If the full form of abbreviation or acronym is plural, treat it as plural subject. You have to use then plural verb after that subject. So this is the rule of subject verb agreement in relation to abbreviation. You have in this case you have to remember, or you have to the knowledge of the full form. If you know it, then you can decide whether it is singular or plural. The next rule will be, this rule is very much important. It is ignore phrases. Dealing with subject verb agreement, your main concern is the subject and the verb. If you have many phrases between the subject and the verb, you have to ignore it. If the phrases are plural, don't distract yourself by the phrases. Don't treat the verb with the phrases. You have to treat singular or plural, the verb, by seeing the subject, not by seeing the phrases. Remember, you have to ignore the phrases. If there are some words that are being used with your subject, like together with, as well as, etc., you have to ignore it. You have to ignore it. Now, I write a sentence. The delinquent, as well as his parents, dash in detention hall. Here the subject is the delinquent, the criminal. This is the extra phrase that has been used between the subject and the verb. You have to ignore it. If you see the parents, you can use are, as parents are plural, but it is not the subject of the verb. The subject of the verb is delinquent. So, in this case, you will have to use it is here, because the subject is singular, the phrase is plural. Remember, don't go by the phrases, you have to ignore it. You will also be focused. Your focus must be on the subject. If subject is singular, you will treat the verb as the singular one. Got it? The first thing, now look it. The first thing that we noticed, dash shoes. In this sentence, you have more than one subject. The first subject will be treated as the subject of the verb, remember. Look here, the first thing that we noticed, there are two subjects, the first thing and we. Your subject and the subject of the verb is the first thing. Now, the first thing is shoes. Remember, इसको वी को देखकर आपने इसको प्लूरल नहीं करना है. If you have two subjects, your first subject will be the subject of the verb. If it is singular, treat the verb as singular. If it is plural, treat the verb as plural. The next rule is the rule of or and nor. In these sentences where or and nor either or neither nor are used, these sentences contains two subjects. I say the attendant or the women dash responsible. In this sentence we have two subjects, remember, the attendant or the woman. The first one is singular, the second one is plural. Your subject will be that is after the or, that is after the nor. If it is singular, treat your verb as singular. If it is plural, treat your verb as the plural. Now, the attendant or the woman, we have a subject, plural subject after the or, so we will treat it as the plural verb. Got it? If you have or nor, don't look at the first subject. Look at the subject that is after the or and nor. If it is plural, treat it as plural. If it is singular, treat it as singular. In this context, see another example, that John or the girls dash bringing football. So we have two subjects. The first one is singular and the second one is plural. So your subject will be that is after the or. So as it is plural, you have to treat it with plural verb. Got it? There are certain words that look like plural, but they are singular. These words are statistics, economics, mathematics, and there are some names of diseases like measles, mumps, diabetes, and there are certain other words like news. So all these words would be treated as singular, remember. All these words that end with the S, but actually these are the singular nouns. So treat all these words as singular. Mumps, I say, or I say measles, dash, a contagious disease. It seems as it is plural, but it is singular. Measles is a contagious disease. I heard dash bad news, a bad news. I have treated this news as singular one. Are you getting my point? Okay. Now there is the last rule, and that is always treat the titles of books, of the articles, and any title, treat it as singular. I say the Four Pavilions is a great book. Pavilions is a plural, but as it is the name of the title, treat it as singular one. I say Great Expectations is a masterpiece by Charles Dickens. Expectations. But as it is the name of the title, remember the name of the title of the book, article, or anything else, whether it be plural or singular, your subject, if it is a title, will always be singular. You will treat your titles as singular subject, not as plural ones. Okay, now I will write some sentences and you have to correct them. There would be the mistake of subject or the verb. You have to correct whether it is written correct, whether there is no mistake or it has some subject verb agreement. On the basis of these rules, you have to keep these rules in the mind. Here, the first sentence is, All of these sentences have the mistake of subject-verb agreement. Look at the first sentence. Islands of the coast has a life of their own. Here remember, our subject is islands of the coast is the phrase. You have to ignore it. Your phrase is the singular. Your subject is the plural. So your verb will go with, not with the phrase, but with the subject. Islands, here we have the mistake of has. Islands of the coast have a life of their own. Got it? The second one is, industries in the community has suffered in the recent years. Again, we have a phrase between our subject and the verb, and that phrase is in the community. The phrase is singular. Your subject is plural. So industries, there must be here have. As your subject is plural, we will use have with it by seeing at the phrase. It looks as has is right. But your agreement is not with the phrase. Your agreement is with the subject and with the verb. One of the stars are Gloria Jeans. Your subject is one of the stars. It is a plural phrase. One is Gloria Estefan. Either of those salads taste delicious. We use either as a singular subject. Of those salads, again we have a plural phrase. So we will have to agree our verb with the subject either. So here it becomes taste. Flowers are a colorful picture, make a room cheerful. I have told you that if there are two subjects distinguished by are and nar, you have to look at the subject that is after are or nar. If it is singular, treat it as singular. If it is plural, treat it as plural. So flowers are the colorful picture. Your first subject is plural, but this one is subject is singular. So here we have a mistake. The correct one is makes, because the subject that is after the are is singular, so we will treat it as the singular verb. Next one, my list of the favorite singers include Kurt Cobain and Chapman. The subject of this sentence is my list. Of favorite singers is a plural phrase. So my list includes. Look at the seventh one. That book of Spanish folk tales are selling out. Again, we have a plural phrase between our subject and the verb. So that book is selling out. Got it? So these are the rules of the subject-verb agreement. The simple thing is treat and make focus that your subject must be singular. If it is singular, treat it with the singular verb. If it is plural, treat it with the plural verb. Always remember, exclude the phrases between the subject. Focus on the subject. Where is the subject in that sentence? If you are going by the phrases, you may be distracted by the subject. Okay? If you have any question regarding this one, you can ask.